Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Get Tender podcast. I'm your host, Marlene Elizabeth. This video podcast has been created to help you stop under-earning and start unfolding your financial potential one brave feather at a time as an entrepreneur. Because the truth is, you are your own money wings. Money is not always a comfortable conversation for us to talk about. And yet, for us to be able to truly thrive and to truly be able to unfold our financial dreams and as entrepreneurs, we need to be able to talk about this conversation. And I know one thing is for sure, that even though we have a wide variety of precious relationships in our life, the one relationship that impacts all those others is our relationship to money. And so in just a few minutes, you're about to watch a tender money conversation that I have with my beautiful guest today, who's taken time out of her busy schedule to share a little bit about her money story, as well as provide insights and tips and strategies so that you too can grow a healthier relationship to your finances. So I hope you enjoy this beautiful interview with Nadia Fleury.
Welcome to Let's Get Tender, Money Conversations That Matter, a video podcast series with certified money coach Marlene Elizabeth, with amazing weekly guests who share their inner challenges, personal triumphs, and inside tips and strategies so you can prosper, lead, and love bravely in business and life. So get comfy and get ready to grow money.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to welcome our very special guest today, Miss Nadia Fleury. Welcome to the show today, Nadia.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. And so before we get started, I would love to read just a little bit about you for our viewers today. So Nadia Fleury is a French-Canadian entrepreneur. She's a life strategist, and I love this, she's a chemist who founded Avesence, a skincare line promoting healthy, radiant-looking skin using potent skincare formulations. Looking beyond marketing hype and understanding that beauty is more about how you feel inside, Nadia delved into alchemy, mixing science with self-awareness and spiritual awakening, helping women elicit inner transformation so that they can bring forth their true beauty from within. Isn't that awesome? I love it, Nadia. I love it. And I'm just so excited to have you here today for a very tender conversation about money.
Thank you so much, Marlene, for having me on the show. I so appreciate this opportunity. And if I can make any difference in anyone who's happening to watch this or listen to this, that is the objective of why I'm actually here with you. Entrepreneurship is a journey, as well as the money issue in our life is also so many times a struggle. And I hopefully I can bring some insight of what I've been through that may actually help you and your audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, as you know, one of my favorite questions to begin this conversation, because I'm always curious about this, especially, as a certified money coach, and it is something we do when we work together. When I work together with my clients, we really dive deep into our money story. And so I would love to know, what is your first memory of money?
Well, my first memory of money started very young, except that I did not know that until December 2017. But I will get to this in later. Money was a struggle for us. I was raised on welfare, so there was a stigma. I was brought up with the idea that it's not for us. Nothing was for us. We were too poor for anything. And I somewhat rebelled with that idea. So later on, that's what brought me to study as a chemist, because I thought, okay, if there is one way I can prevent myself from being into that poverty cycle, is to educate myself and do something would have a good job and all that. The other thing I noticed in my relationship with my mom and my family as a whole is that the lack of money created so much hurt and fear and anger that somehow I felt like there was no love in the relationship. Like it was more about yelling and argument and what are we going to do tomorrow, as in supposed to, well, we at least have each other. We may not have all the money we want, but at least we have each other. That was never mentioned. And it affected me for the longest time. I came to associate that money equal love, or at least having happiness, and not having money, the lack of money, creates unhappiness. So I put love and money together.
And did this come from a very specific memory that you had when you were little?
I think it came from a place of it was not just one memory, although one of them, which later on, I'm just going to segue into that thing because it's really important. I was wondering, as I became an entrepreneur, I was wondering why I was not in revenue. There was many issues that is involved, and we always look at the mind, like what we can see on paper. So the strategy, the marketing, do I have the right website? There is a deeper connection of when things are not working, that something is stopping us. In my case, the memory I had was my mom. My dad was totally out of integrity in his action, and there would be bay leaf would be the normal thing that would come into my family. And so I remember one incident, I was about 3, where my mom received this man at the door and he was asking money. At the time, I did not understand the concept of money. However, I understood that my mom was afraid and was like really concerned, and she was trying to push him away until this man said, well, maybe I take one of your children. And there was me and my 2 siblings there. I know my mom got so afraid and she just put herself in front of us and she says, no, you're not having any of them. I don't know if this guy was kidding or not. It could have been. But I understood at that moment that you're only safe if there's money in the bank account. And that has driven my whole life, because that's why I would be working 60 hours a week, to make sure that there's always money in the bank account. And that also created a different challenge when I decided on a whim to quit my job overnight, to decide, okay, now I'm going to do this entrepreneurial business, thinking that the money would come right away, and it didn't. And that was another story on its own.
Yes, Nadia, that's such a powerful memory to have when you're a child, and sometimes those memories kind of go down to the bottom of the ocean floor of our memory, right? But because you are determined to be a successful entrepreneur, I can see how it's been really helpful for you to remember that memory and to see how it maybe impacted your perspective going forward. And thank you for sharing that memory with me. Thank you so much, and with our viewers today. And so let me ask you, Nadia, what would you say then was the self-limiting money belief, or the fear around money that prevented you from moving forward in your business?
Well, I think the limiting belief I had was, there's many of them. Sometimes it's about guilt. Sometimes it's about fear of, I think for the longest time, because I was not aware of all these emotion that can take away the emotion that these things that anchors us as a young child, we're not thinking of them as we are adult. So one of the things that came to me was guilt and sabotage. And these two things, and I'm going to start with the sabotage. We are what our mind, what we say to our mind. We become so not understanding all this, what's going on. In some ways, I kind of married my mom. So that negativity and this is not for us kind of thing. So it continue on. So from leaving my parents' house to then getting married, I was in the same environment. And I always felt limited. I always felt like I had to negotiate what I could have, but could not have what I really want. And it took me many self-development courses to realize that there was a sabotage pattern. And I had to identify where that come from and then do something about it. Because I was in that cycle. Like when you're in these negative emotion, you feel like you're going to, it's easier to blame others for your lack of result than looking at yourself and say, hey, what am I doing about it? And that's another thing I notice is like expecting money from the outer world, expecting that the outer world will solve our problem is an illusion. A W-2 is an illusion. If you like, it gives you that security, but that does not give you the freedom. And because the W-2 comes from an outsider, an entrepreneur, another entrepreneur, or a corporation, you never know when that corporation closed down or let you go. So all these things are adding up to that sabotage pattern I was making reference to.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and this is, so when you talk about self-sabotage, you know, this is not only common that it can be this limiting, when we have a limiting belief around money, we don't realize that we're self-sabotaging ourselves. We don't understand that's even happening, right? But it's so frustrating because we're doing everything we can. I think you mentioned that before, you know, you're working so hard in your business and trying to make it succeed and thrive, and it's just not happening. And it's so true. It could be because we're just not letting that money in, and we're self-sabotaging ourselves in ways that we're not even aware of. And so what were some of the brave action steps that you've taken? You kind of started mentioning a little bit. One of them is taking responsibility, and I know how hard that is. And I'm a pretty responsible person, and it is still very hard to take responsibility for our part in a situation, for example, not allowing ourselves to have money, right? So what brave action steps have you taken to overcome that, those self-sabotaging ways?
Well, there is not just one thing that I did. Overall was to first, when I realized that the mindset is so important, the thoughts that you say to yourself matters. And I was following lead from my husband at the time, because he was having the same pattern as my mom, until I realized, wait a minute, this is not, and that is through reading books, you know, self-development books and business book. You become the words you say. And from that point on, I said, okay, I'm changing my story, and from now on, I'm a millionaire. And that triggered something with my husband at the time, because he did not see it that way. And in fact, for him, I probably came like rub him off the wrong way, because he's like, well, who are you to dream that big? And the sabotage, eventually I realized, once I changed my language, and over like 2-3 years of saying it, and I was saying it totally nonchalant, as I really believed that one day I'm going to be a millionaire. And in that same time, my husband came to think that if I am a millionaire and I'm successful, I will leave him, because why would I want to stay with him? And that became the sabotage pattern I was facing from his perspective. So to my face, to what he would say, he would wish that I would be successful, but all his action was causing me to do one step forward, two step back, until I mentioned, it's like I said, enough. And that time I was very because he was providing for the household while I was building the business. But the thing is, I could never get ahead, and I always wanted to say, okay, when I'm in revenue, I will leave him. And then it dawned on me after years of trying that, it dawned on me that it's the other way around. I've got to leave in order to be in revenue. So one day I actually left out of, I had $2,000 in my bank account. And I said, that's it. I can no longer stay there. And of course, he was waiting for me to fail. He was waiting for me to cry and come back. And that's 18 months later, and I still haven't cried and come back. So the point is that what looked like it's impossible, I made it happen.
That's sometimes the ultimate brave step sometimes that we need to take, because when we start realizing that we're self-sabotaging ourselves, then we become aware. It usually leads us to become aware of how we've picked people in our life that also reflect that same pattern and prevent us from moving forward in our growth. And it isn't because we don't love these individuals in our life, but sometimes maybe they haven't done their own work. And so that's kind of sometimes the ultimate brave action step that sometimes needs to be taken, is maybe lessening the amount of time we're around an individual that is just is going to be kind of threatened sometimes by our growth. But in life, we have a higher calling sometimes. And so I imagine as well that you filled your life with more positive people as well, and more people that were of the same mindset as you, and really knew their own value and self-worth, and were able to help you build that within yourself as well. Because I know for sure every entrepreneur needs that as well. So Nadia, what would you say now is a belief that you have about money that you find empowers you in your business? And you may have already mentioned that, but what if you could please share that?
This is there's two things I want to say about that. When I was making a reference earlier about the outer world as it's opposed to the inner world, because my background is chemistry and manufacturing, so for me, sales and marketing is actually my challenge from a business perspective. The thing is that it's like I would ask the right question. I would just simply say, I don't know how. And that is a valid question, because selling or marketing is a learned skill. That I did not understand. I thought you are gifted and you're born knowing how to sell, or you're born. The thing is, it's when I actually took the time to translate that into cooking. Like, I do not have any doubt in my mind that I can make myself breakfast in the morning. So, but why I can do breakfast is because I've been practicing it for more than 40 years. That knowledge of feeding myself comes from within me. I don't have any expectation from the outer world. Now, what if I transfer that feeling to money? The money comes from within me. I can generate money through giving my gift, to share my knowledge, to share what I know best. That's how you really make money. The rest comes automatically, or it comes, you pull the team around and all that. But the point is to feel it. So this is one thing that I've came across recently that was a game changer for me in terms of empowerment. And however, I was still not getting my success that I was looking for until I digged out another piece of information, which this was linked to guilt. What I did not know is that I had hired a marketing strategist. His name is Randy. And Randy, the more I talked to him, the more it drove me crazy. Oh my God, he's just like my ex-husband. I can't stand him. And then I reached out for my coach and I said, I cannot stand this guy. And he said, Nadia, Randy has nothing to do with anything. He's mirroring something you need to address. And it's only when I took the time to really listen in to what was going on did I realize, oh, he reminds me, my husband, there's something about my husband that I need to know. Of course, the universe does not give you an email and tell you easily what the message is. You have to dig at it. While I was working with Randy and he slowed me down and he got me going into his own rabbit hole, that delayed me on getting the income I was looking for. So it put me into a financial strain in January. And I went to my husband and asked him if he could help me for one more month. Well, from that point, he said, well, I'm not going to help you because I don't know when you're going to repay me. And that's when I realized that what was holding me back, okay, there's more to it that I've actually shared. My husband, after I left, actually got a stroke. And from that point, I was not inclined to ask for the divorce because I didn't want to put more stress on his health. So we're not legally separated, but we actually live apart. The thing though, it's the guilt behind that I left him and then he got a stroke kept me behind. If I hadn't analyzed the whole thing, I would have let go of Randy, which had nothing to do with anything, and keep sabotaging myself to be in a standstill position. But when I had this conversation with my husband, and I realized that he doesn't really care about my well-being as long as he is secure and he has his thing going. And then why do I feel guilty? So what I thought I was going to ask him for a month's supply of income. He actually gave me freedom. So that is quite an empowerment, in my opinion.
That is that's so powerful what you just shared. Oh my goodness, that is so, so powerful. And as we, have this conversation, I mean, I always say this, and people that have watched this this podcast, hear me say that when you talk about money, it's so much more than just about money. Certainly, if we were just to do things just for money, it would become meaningless so quickly, because But it's what's behind that. It's the fact that you're worthy of achieving your financial dreams, and you have nothing to feel guilty about, nothing to hold you back. We are our own sometimes worst enemy when it comes to achieving our financial freedom. There's really nothing holding us back, but that's why it's so important to do the work. So Nadia, let me ask you, so in your business, what would you say that you've learned so far as an entrepreneur? Is there anything that you've learned that you apply, that you find helpful, that you can apply to your relationship with money?
Well, oh my God, where do I start with this question? What do I learn? That everything, well, having a goal and then strategies that brings you these goals, and the art of focusing on one thing at a time. It's a myth to say that we can multitask. I realized that I thought for the longest time that entrepreneurship was a journey, like imagine like you're in the forest and you're just going around from point A to point B, just finding your way around the forest. But I now look at it more of a big circle that is going like a spiral that's going inward. So at first you try many things. You try especially as an entrepreneur, you do everything. You wear so many hats. And now as I progress forward, as much as I was into chemistry and formulation, I later realized that I'm actually better at marketing. I love talking, and sharing what I'm sharing with you is even more, it comes naturally to me. So the journey led me to understand that I'm more than just chemistry. And so through the path of that inward spiral I'm mentioning to you, is that now I'm realizing that my talent is to only focus on my zone of genius. What am I really good at? Actually, what I'm a genius at, and let the others do what they are best at. And it's also to surround myself with co-creators. I don't want employees. I want co-creators, people that are willing to work with me, but at the same time is we all grow from, it's not me growing and them servicing me, it's a togetherness. So I think these things applies, I mean, it's the same principle that you grow spiritually, or to you, or your bank account grows. I think they go together.
Yes, yes, absolutely. This is a very powerful lesson that you've learned from business to apply to your relationship with money. Super powerful. The flow that happens, and when we approach business in this way, then you can see how money naturally flows out of that, because everything's being put first, kind of like, the horse is being put first before the cart, and it's not the other way around first. And so even just operating your business based on, the value of wanting to be with fellow co-creators, not employee mindset, because oftentimes an employee mindset can lead us to not kind of taking really ownership of our financial potential. And it's not to say that that is with all employees. I mean, I've been an employee, and but sometimes we can fall asleep when we're an employee. Sometimes we can fall asleep to the gifts and the talents that we have. And because of that, we start to suffer in our emotions or in our, physical well-being. Illness sometimes can happen. Our relationships can sometimes suffer simply because we're not really embracing our full financial potential, our potential in general. So I love this that you've shared with us. And so Nadia, what would you say that you've learned about money that, if you had your mini me in front of you, when you were little, and she was here today, what would you whisper in her ear?
Well, money, like I said earlier, when it comes from the outer world, it's that illusion. And there was a coach that had come with this, kind of had given this image and said, the way that they catch monkeys is that they put nuts in the tree, and when the monkey goes and grab the nuts and close their fist, now they can no longer release themselves out of that tree, and so that's how they would hunt the monkeys. The thing is, all you need to do, all the monkey needs to do to gain freedom is to release those nuts. The thing is, how often do we hold on to something for fear of not having? So we hold on to our job that is unfulfilling us. We're holding on to a relationship that is not fulfilling us. Or we hold on to friends, or whatever it is that we're holding on to. The question is always to ask, is this situation right now is fulfilling me? And if the answer is no, the next step is, what will you do about it? Because the other person is not going to do anything. It's up to you, because you're the one who's not feeling fulfilled.
Yes, 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 yes. And again, it's kind of taking that ownership, that responsibility. And, you mentioned something earlier in the program today about, how we show up. Are we showing up in our relationship to money as a victim, as a martyr, as a tyrant? Or maybe as a magician or a warrior or a creator artist. These all make a difference in terms of the impact that it has around us reaching our financial goals. So thank you so much for sharing powerful insights today, Nadia. And I so appreciate everything you shared. I know that our viewers are definitely going to be walking away with some real jewels today. And so before we wrap up, though, I would love for you to share, how can people reach you and find out more about your skincare line, or maybe just continue this conversation around money with you?
Well, they can find me. The skincare is for women who struggle with oily skin, and this product is found on the website, which is avesence.com. And if you have any question or anything that you'd like to add to me personally, you can reach me at Nadia@avesence.com.
Okay, great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I really encourage viewers to reach out to Nadia and explore, check out her products. And again, even if you want to, maybe if she's shared something today that has kind of sparked your interest to talk to her more about money, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Nadia, thank you. Thank you for being here.
You are really welcome. Thank you for having me.